Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fabled Upkeep. I'm one of your hosts, Freddie, and I'm joined by Neil
Hey, everybody.
and Jared.
Hello, friends.
And we are here tonight to bring you a live deck building that we did on one of the new Kaldheim commanders, Alrund, God of the Cosmos. And he's one of the flips, which flips into Hakka, Whispering Raven. This is definitely, I think, one of the most underrated commanders that has come out with Kaldheim. And we're here to show you a wonderful little Voltron package that is going to be available to be built with him. What do y'all think so far, guys, of this commander? Guys get excited about it?
I know I'm very excited about it because we definitely played a game today with it, and I kind of was something that I wanted to build. It's challenging to build a mono blue deck and not go the route of a Thassa's Oracle win or something like that as far as card draw. So I kind of decided, well, for my build, I'm definitely going to do something that's in the Voltron space because that's what I like to do. I like to get in there and do some combat. So it was interesting to see that this commander is actually really, really great as a Voltron commander for sure. So I'm excited. And I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so why don't we just go ahead and jump directly into the main game plan of the deck. And Jared, why don't you go ahead and kick us off there?
Yeah, so with my build, I also went with a Voltron build, which I believe we're agreeing on going with this deck, right, guys? We're going to try and make it
I think that makes the most sense.
A Voltron build. And I enjoyed building Alrund from a Voltron perspective as well, just because Voltron is usually not my go-to type of deck. So it was definitely an interesting challenge for me because it kind of got me out of my comfort zone a little bit because I usually don't build Voltron style decks. Now, one good thing about Alrund is that he does also have an ability where at your end step, you can, if you have like library manipulation, you can rearrange like the top cards of your deck and then guarantee yourself to have card advantage. So if you get lucky and you don't have anything, you can get cards too, right? Like you can just call land because the vast majority of your deck is land. But if you play cards like Brainstorm, Ponder, Preordain, I mean, wow, all of a sudden you are including Ancestral Recall in your deck. So that seems pretty nice. So Alrund offers the Voltron strategy something that hasn't really been seen before, which is potentially massive card advantage, which Voltron, in my experience at least, tends to struggle with.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And why don't we go ahead and go over Alrund really, really fast. We won't bore everybody with going into detail with too many of the cards, but I definitely do want to highlight exactly what Alrund does. And Alrund reads, he's a 3 and 2 blue, and he reads, Alrund gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each foretold card you own in exile. And the second ability that was what Jared was highlighting states, at the beginning of your end step, choose a card type. Then you may reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. So, yes, that Preordain is Ancestral Recall, baby, if you get lucky with the same type on top of the deck. But I also wanted to highlight the flip side of Alrund, which is Hakka, Whispering Raven. Now, honestly, this, I think, is the most underrated part of this deck as far as the beginning game and your game plan goes to get yourself ramped up and going. It's a 1 and a blue for a 2/3 flyer that says when Hakka Whispering Raven deals combat damage to a player, return it to its owner's hand and scry 2. So early game, you're able to scry away what you don't want to see and really get into the package that we're trying to develop to put in some work. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the Voltron package for this deck. And I guess we can start having a little discussion about what everybody thinks is worthy of a place in the deck. I'll let Neil start us off here. What do you think, Neil? Piece.
Yeah, so I think on my side, we'll start with the equipment Voltron piece, right? Because as an avid mono white player, Voltron especially is really great with equipment. And so, I picked out a couple good ones that I enjoyed. One especially that I like is Hammer of Nazan. So I picked Hammer of Nazan because in mono blue, especially if you're using either the Raven side or Alrund, sometimes it can be difficult to pay those equip costs. So I was trying to find a way to bring that kind of that side of the game plan. White usually has creatures and other ways of getting, Sigarda's Aid and stuff like that, that whenever equipment hits the battlefield, it gets attached to our legendary creatures. So I picked Hammer of Nazan as one of mine, that I thought was pretty good. Kind of help, if you're holding cards in hand, kind of whenever it enters or another equipment enters, it gets automatically attached to target creature you control. So I kind of went with that. I don't know what your guys' thoughts were on something like that.
Yeah, so for my build, I did not include Hammer of Nizan, but I can see the advantages of doing so because you brought up a point which I didn't think of, which is it helps reduce your equipment costs, right? So it's kind of a mana reduction in a way. And also it makes Alrund sticky with the indestructible, right? So it makes it that much harder to remove, which, cards like Lightning Greaves give things Shroud, right? But Hammer makes it indestructible, which, is arguably better in a lot of situations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just saying, I absolutely agree. Hammer Nizan is a pretty obvious auto include, I would imagine, for a deck like this, like you said, in blue. Perfect pick.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to include Lightning Greaves, but I'm just, making the point that Hammer is just, it's a different form of protection, right? Because if your playgroup plays a lot of destroy effects and stuff like that, blue's not very good at indestructible. So Hammer's a nice way into that.
Yeah. And kind of where my mind was going through, and I think sometimes that's probably a bad thing on my side, but I was thinking, in the event, because as a mono blue player, obviously you got your counter spells and stuff to kind of protect you from those board wipes and stuff like that. But in a deck like this, it can be tough to always leave that mana open. So having things that you can naturally rely on and provide that protection where you can take that turn off where you don't have to necessarily keep mana open is something that's kind of nice every once in a while. So that's the way I kind of thought of it too. Also for the fact of kind of cheating the equipment costs, but also kind of providing that chance where you can take a breather, not always have to keep 2 mana open or whatever the case may be to have that protection there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good include. We should include it if we have room at the end for sure. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're at it, since we already discussed it, why don't we go ahead and put Lightning Greaves in there, because that's going to be I would imagine an auto include. Everybody could agree on 0 equip, haste, especially for late game if Alrund, which will inevitably get removed, able to put it back out there and swing out again is definitely great.
Yeah, and then we probably want its partner Swiftfoot as well, Swiftfoot boots.
Yeah, let's throw Swiftfoot boots in there as well. I like that. Well, what about you, Jared? What are you thinking? What's your must-have?
Oh, so one of my must-haves is definitely Imperial Plate, which doubles Alrund's effect. So it's an equipment, 2 mana, equip creature gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand. So basically now Alrund gets +2/+2 for each card in your hand. So it's really, really good in this particular deck especially.
Oh yeah.
Another one that I think should definitely be an include is Blackblade Reforged. Gives it +1/+1 for each land you control, and it only costs 3 to equip to a legendary creature. So, I mean, that's definitely going to help buff Alrund.
Let's throw that puppy in there. The only downside with that one, obviously, it's great, but it does have a very expensive cost. Even at 3 for a legendary, which is the only one we're going to be equipping to. It's, I think, the most expensive equip that we will have in the deck, I would imagine. Oh, who knows?
Yeah, my most expensive equip is Stratus Scythe, so that's the 3 mana artifact with imprint. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a land, exile it, and then the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each land on the battlefield with the same name as the exile card. So it's not quite as strong as Blackblade Reforged. I mean, we do not have to include it in the final build by any means. I just included it as kind of like, I just included it as just like another form of, largely buffing Alrund quickly.
Yeah, no, of course. I wanted to add, I think, my favorite card. I know that we were talking about it earlier and not everybody agreed, but I really am a fan of Commander's Plate. Commander's Plate, again, we're talking about protection for Alrund. We're talking about the new Blue card that's 1 CMC to drop it, and it gives him +3/+3 and has protection from all other colors that are not in your commander's identity. So basically, protection from everything but blue. Can't beat that. It's going to be pretty hard to kill it unless you got a Pongify effect or a bounce effect. And if you're playing other colors than blue, well, then you're pretty safe. Not only to protect it from spells, but also protect it when swinging in. Protection also prevents them from being able to block, which is pretty significant.
And I did not have this card in my build of the deck, but I mean, I'm definitely willing to try it. It seems really good. The only reason I wasn't considering is just because it has a cap on the buff, so it's only +3/+3. I know I'm complaining, even though it's an amazing card in general. But
yeah.
but the protection from all colors. I mean, I'm definitely willing to see just how useful that is, because we were just talking about Hammer and Nazan and making Alrund that much harder to get rid of. Well, protection from colors, it also makes it unblockable in addition to being harder to remove. So yeah,
That's fantastic.
we should try and slot it in. Yep.
I think another one that we should probably consider as well is the new spear. Oh my goodness, what's the name of it? It's at the tip of my tongue.
Shadow Spear.
Shadow Spear, thank you. That's the one, yes. Shadow Spear giving lifelink in mono blue, keeping our life total up if need be. Pretty important. And also playing around the table with the ability to remove indestructible from creatures. It could be pretty relevant, obviously, without hitting our commander. It's kind of a double-sided sword there. If we have him being indestructible, it removes indestructible until end of turn on...
It's just for permanents your opponents
Well,
control, though. Yeah, it's just opponents.
Right.
Yeah, actually, I considered Shadow Spear for my build, but the more I thought about it, the more I considered this card in this deck specifically as more of a meta call. The reason I think that is because really the only parts of this card that we care about are the lifelink and losing, making your opponents lose hexproof. We really don't care about the +1/+1 buff or the trample because we're going to have ways to give Alrund unblockable playing blue. So, and then making your opponents lose indestructible, that's not really relevant for blue because we're going to be including things that are just going to be like bouncing the opponent's permanents.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, to me, in this deck, Shadow Spear seems a little underwhelming. We can include it for now, though.
Sure. What else? What other packages are you guys considering?
Another card that I kind of enjoy is Hero's Blade because it does cost 2. So what I try to do is keep most of my equipment in very low casting cost range. And either A, it was going to cheat itself onto Alrund, or actually Hakka in most cases, or provide some type of advantage. I also use Mask of Memory too, because it's just one of my personal favorites. But Hero's Blade is actually really interesting because it costs 2, and then every time a legendary creature enters the battlefield, it automatically equips. So again, going with my same game plan of cheating that equip cost, because you do not want to be paying that over and over again. And I found this one to be an excellent addition in my version of the deck for sure.
I like that, especially with the Hakka game plan. And also keep in mind, if I'm not mistaken here, guys, but if I'm not mistaken, Hakka and Alrund count as one commander. So therefore, the damage that is being dealt with either one does count towards commander damage.
That's correct.
Correct?
Really? I did not realize
Yes.
that. Okay.
Yes.
Well, I
So
wasn't thinking about that when I built my deck, so that's an interesting point that you made.
that is definitely something to keep in mind as well with the ability to play Hakka out. If you don't want to Alrund for whatever reason, you want the evasion or what have you, and being able to cheat equipment onto him is actually quite interesting. So I really like that.
I think it comes.
That's
yeah,
a
it
very
comes
good
in
point.
handy. I think that. I can't remember if it was Jared or you, Freddie, that kind of mentioned it earlier, but when you're starting the game, obviously your goal is going to be playing Hakka at the beginning, right? First few turns. I mean, it's great. It's a good feeling to have something that you can play on your second turn, right? And having that ability where both are doing commander damage, right? Depending upon what side you choose. You know, you start with Hakka at the beginning of the game, and then later as the game, you're trying to draw it to a close, boom, you flip it over to Alrund, and then you're attacking for, you know, over 21 commander damage because you've probably done, you know, 2, 3, 4, maybe more over the course of the beginning of the game. So I think it's important to have very cheap equipment to kind of help you with that game plan.
Absolutely. Any other pieces that we wanted to highlight as far as the package is concerned?
Well, I guess if we're talking about equipment, maybe we should talk about ways to get that equipment out of your deck.
Yes.
So I'm talking about things like fabricate. So, you know, just 2 to blue, search your library for an artifact, put it in your hand. Because, yeah, if we're doing the Voltron game plan, we definitely want to make sure that we have Imperial Plate. I mean, I would consider that probably the most important equipment in this deck, just to double up the commander's effect.
I like it. So let's go ahead and make sure we have fabricate. Obviously, we want to look at potentially Trophy Mage and all the other packages that come in here. Yes.
Yeah, reshape. That's another good one. Because we're going to be playing a lot of mana rocks, so we could just turn one of our useless mana rocks into an equipment that we need later on in the game.
So one of my first builds, I actually had Trophy Mage and what was, I can't remember the other
Trinket
one.
Mage?
Trinket Mage, right? And so as I'm playing the deck, you know, I kind of started to think, other than them providing that one-time search, I felt like they were just kind of worthless after that. I mean, but I know that there's not very many other things that you can use within blue. You know, that was a tough thing for me to try to... Did I want it to take up a creature slot, you know, because you kind of use it once? I was trying to think, is there any other cards that we could possibly use that, you know, maybe did dual, you know, maybe provided 2 different things, right? Because sometimes, especially in mono blue, I'm trying to think of cards that maybe do more than one specific thing, right? Because if you only use Trinket Mage or Trophy Mage at the beginning of the game, like, yeah, it's nice, right? You get to search for that particular piece or item, but after that, it doesn't really do anything, right? So I didn't know if you guys had any other takes on equipment search maybe that I didn't think of. That was something I was battling with.
Yeah, for my equipment search, I didn't consider things like Trinket Mage, Trophy Mage, etc. The only reason being because if I'm playing Trinket Mage, like I want to play the Trinket Mage package. So what I mean by that is because Trinket Mage allows you to search for any artifact that's 1 converted mana cost or less, you can get 0 CMC artifacts, right? So Trinket Mage can get the Seed of the Synod, which is the blue artifact land. So you could use it if you're missing a land drop, or you could use Trinket Mage to get the Soul Ring. That's a very popular one. So it's basically mana ramp in this deck. So it's, you know, it's 4, if you want to think about it, it's 4 mana total for a 2/2 and a Sisei's Ring. So it's like a Sisei's Ring on a body. Or you could use Trinket Mage in this deck, I'm sorry, to get Sensei's Divining Top, which is a really awesome card with Alrund. I don't know if we're going to have room in our deck for that card. We're trying to keep it in budget. But, you know, Sensei's Top, to guarantee that you know what the top 2 cards of your deck are, to always get that draw 2 whenever possible, is really great to have at any point in the game.
Oh, we'll be able to also look at putting Scroll Rack in. I know it's 1 extra CMC, but it's also a third of the cost of a Sensei Divining Top. So
yeah, sure. Scroll Rack is a great include for sure.
But back on the 1 CMC, Commander's Plate, huh? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tutor Commander's Plate with Trinket Mage too. Yeah, I mean, the more I think about it, the more Trinket Mage could actually be pretty nice in this deck.
Yep. And then we could also, if the spear makes it into the cut, then that's also a 1 CMC as well. So
yeah, then you guarantee that you can get some life whenever you need it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, see, Trinket Mage is subtly good. You know, there's a lot of situations that it could potentially be good in.
Well, put up Trophy Mage real fast as well. I
think Trophy's like very specific. It's like 3 CMC exactly. I don't think there's going to be a lot of stuff in our deck with that. See, that's really specific.
That is, but
it's not as flexible as
we're not going to have any of the swords, or are we going to have some of the swords in this package?
Yeah, the
That's the
swords are pretty
question.
pricey. I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you could include Sword of Feast and Famine in your build, but I mean that's like a $50-$60 card,
No,
I
no,
think.
no. But without Feast and Famine, let's go look at the other swords and what their abilities are, because there might be something that we're overlooking. What about Fire and Ice? What's Fire and Ice do? Let's go look at that real fast.
Yeah, I think that's another pricey one too. Oh, also,
Yeah, it
just for
is.
full disclosure, Feast and Famine is 45,
Yeah.
and Sword of Fire and Ice.
Equipment that I like. I think it's kind of interesting, and it's a one-sided board wipe with commander package that we're running, which is the Kusari Gamma. So it's 3 CMC equipped for 3, and it's got pay 2, and this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn, whatever. The most important part is whenever equipped creature deals damage to a blocking creature, Kusari Gamma deals that much damage to each other creature defending player controls. And with a commander like ours, if they have to block, enforcing a block, and we don't have unblockable, well, we're going to deal their entire board a massive amount of damage. Basically like a blasphemous act on one side of the board.
That or a Balefire Dragon.
Uh,
Yeah, I like that card
Yeah,
that you
this
picked.
is not.
That was interesting.
Yeah, this is not one I considered. So yeah, it could be interesting. Sure.
I mean, I think as far as Ultron package, we kind of covered it all.
Yeah, I think we're okay with the Voltron for now because,
Yeah.
like Neil said, we have to be careful about how many equipments we put in.
Exactly.
So we're kind of getting on the cusp right here. So
Yep. So I think we're good there. Now, why don't we go ahead and move into card draw, which is what Alrund loves to feed off of.
thankfully, Blue is very good at that. So
One that I think that we could probably all agree on, which is Teferi's Ageless Insight. I think is a great one. Card draw. Or to gas our card draw
can we
into...
agree on this?
I would
I'm
hope
just
so.
because
You'd be the odd man out here, sir.
so the thing with this card is Alrund's ability doesn't draw you a card, right?
No.
You just look and put them into your hand, so it doesn't synergize with the commander. And it says if you draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps. So you have to have other card draw to make it work.
Oh, of
So
course.
are we playing that much card draw in the deck though?
I would hope so. I would like to see a lot of card draw. But again, that's...
I could be totally off base here. I mean, I did not include it in my build because I felt like there just weren't enough pieces to make it work. But
So
maybe
why
there
look at
are.
Alrund as a whole? He cares about how many cards you have in hand. And so him alone, without even any equipments, is already a Voltron-esque commander without having to have a Voltron package. We're just adding on with what we're putting onto him. But that's the way I see Teferi's Ageless Insight as giving you the ability to pump up your commander as you're drawing cards, so you're swinging in for a whole lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could think of it also as an Alhammerit's Archive, right? Usually Blue leans on Alhammerit's Archive as a card that they play, especially if they're doing draw shenanigans, which Blue, that's kind of what they do, right? This is 1 mana cost cheaper, but it doesn't offer that life gain like Alhammerit's does. But I could see your point, Jared. I did include it in mine, but I do lean a lot heavier in the card draw aspect of my version because, and I still think I need to tweak a couple because there may not be enough. There was definitely times when I actually played my version that my hand was not more than 7, which is unacceptable when your commander is really relying upon how many are in your hand. So there may not be enough in my version actually. So.
So, I mean, piggybacking up what you're saying, I'm going to talk about my deck real fast. And the way I went about building my deck, I wanted to have other threats on the board that synergized with drawing cards so that I wasn't solely relying on my commander to swing in and beat somebody to death. Right? Like, I want to be able to have other removal targets and or stabilizing mid-game plays that will be impactful on the board. And I mean, I put Teferi's Ageless Insight for right now, and we could most certainly cut it later, but once you see the other cards that I have included in the package that I would like to see in here, maybe it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah, no, and that's totally a fair point to have backup plans because Voltron, if they deal with our commander, like for example, if you do play Hakka, the Raven side, early on in the game. If they like Darksteel Mutation it, you're just, it's kind of just game over, right? That's the risk with playing it early as the Raven. So yeah, I mean, it is always good to have a backup way to win. So I mean, maybe we could lean into something like Teferi's Ageless Insight to do that. So I, I'm open to including it.
Okay. Then we can definitely go look at. I wouldn't really call it's not drawing cards per se, but Fact or Fiction is definitely a nice include in this deck.
Yep, it's really solid, also cheap on the budget, so in it
Yes.
goes.
It goes. Then we were talking about Brainstorm. Definitely
Yep.
put the Brainstorm in. Blue Sun Zenith.
Yeah, actually, all the blue X draw spells can be considered.
Yeah.
I have
From tomorrow.
yeah, Stroke of Genius, Pull from Tomorrow. I have those in my build.
And why don't we look at some new cards since Alrund also cares about Foretell is Behold the Multiverse.
Yeah, I've got that one in mind.
Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Foretell it, and then play it for 1 in a blue. Instant speed. It's pretty good. And it also feeds our commander's power toughness. So I do like that.
Yeah, he counts foretold cards, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was y'all's
Then let's
thoughts
go.
on Loyal Drake? I had that one in mind. I've always liked that card.
I do like Loyal Drake. Loyal Drake is nice.
I just have to see what it does. Let's see.
It's +2/+2 to your command. No.
No, it just lets you draw
he
a
just
card.
cares about drawing cards. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, this one feels a little underwhelming. It's just a 2/2. It can be just killed so easily.
True. Put it in and we'll see if it can make the cut. Now, I did like... We'll see if we're going to end up with enough scry effects, but this could be a bomb later on in the game. Elegeth, Crossroads, Augur. This one is a 5/6 flyer that says if you would scry a number of cards, draw that many cards instead.
Yeah, I'm not sold on this one. We can keep it in for now, but just feels kind of underwhelming in this particular kind of deck. Flow of Ideas. This is a card that I don't think enough people play in mono and blue. It's 5 and a blue, draw a card for each island you control. Yes, sign me up.
Oh yeah, there you go. That'll definitely...
I'll pay 6 mana to, draw 5 or 6 immediately. Sure, why not?
And I had like curiosity effects, so curious obsession, curiosity for drawing, coastal piracy.
Yeah, Curiosity and the other one, Curious Obsession, I guess. Those I could see being in here, but Coastal Piracy, those are for go wide decks. Like, why are we paying 4 mana for the same effect that we could get for 1 mana? We're a Voltron
my deck did go wide a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Y'all's deck was a little bit different than mine. I had things like Nadir Kraken and Omen of the Ominous Seas in my deck, and I also had the Shark Typhoon.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going for the go wide strategy, then yeah, sure, the Coastal Piracy effects of the world are fine. I mean, do we want to go for a backup go wide strategy? Like,
it was more like a secondary, like very secondary option, just so that if our commander was taken out 3 times, we weren't out of the game. That's kind of where I was at, because that's what I've always felt with Voltron, and I've played Voltron with Rafik. Rafik is amazing. I really enjoyed him back in the day, but you ran into that issue where it was like, okay, he gets targeted immediately, and now I just get to sit around and watch everybody play Magic.
Yeah, in my opinion, though, that's the risk you take playing Voltron, right? I mean, you're playing a Voltron deck, so in my opinion, that's just kind of the risk you take. So I'd rather just have a focused Voltron deck as opposed to just trying to do 3 different things not as well as my main strategy that I want to do, if that makes sense.
Sure. I get it. We can leave it in. We can take them out. I just figured I'd give you guys what the package was that I had so far. How do y'all feel about Monastery Siege?
Yeah, it could be okay. Cheap budget wise, right? I think it's less than $1.
Yeah, it's 79 cents.
Yep.
What did you have for a draw package, Jared?
Let me see. So we already talked about one of my favorites, Flow of Ideas. I put Rhystic Study and Mystic Remora in this deck just because I have some cards that give us no max hand size. So, the the two favorite enchantments of everyone definitely do well in this deck because of the no max hand size, so we don't even have to worry about discarding all the delicious extra cards we'll be drawing off of them.
I like it. Oh yeah, Mystic Remora is definitely a great selection in here.
I mean, they're a bit pricey, but I mean, they're worth it to include in this deck.
I love it. How do we feel about Kira the Great Glass Spinner as more protection in this deck? Well, future side, absolutely. Yeah, put that.
I like Kira. The only issue is that with our other protection effects, which are equipments, we can tutor them. We can tutor them out to get them more easily. Kira, we don't really have a great way of getting it. We either just have it or we don't. So, I mean, yeah, we're drawing a lot of cards. We have a higher chance of drawing into it in this deck, but it's still not that high.
So, Jared, since you weren't a fan of Coastal Pirates and such, did you throw Biden Athasa in your version?
No, I did not. It's basically the same thing as Coastal Piracy in my opinion, so it is not in my build. But if that is one of the backup plans that we're trying to go with this deck, yeah, it's another nice version of Coastal Piracy that sometimes has political ramifications where you can potentially make people attack. So
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I have other decks where I play Biden Athasa in. I love the card. It's just for me personally in my build, I did not include it in mine for the reasons I had stated previously.
Sure. Oh,
You play Muldrifter?
Muldrifter, that's one of those cards like Grave Titan. I brought it up again. So Muldrifter. Yeah, well, no, now it's going to be Muldrifter, right, for this video?
I know.
So Muldrifter is one of those cards where it's like, I don't know, man. I used to play that all the time back in the day, and now, like, it just costs way too much for too little effect for me. Like, unless you're playing it in a dedicated Blink deck with, like, extra triggers with, like, your Panharmonicons and stuff like that, in this kind of a deck, I'm not including Muldrifter. I have way better ways of drawing cards than that.
So can we all agree on a Consecrated Sphinx? Does that do enough card draw for you?
Oh, yeah, it does.
Well, yeah, that would do great card draw, but it's
a very pricey card, though, I think, right?
$50, right?
No, it's actually 30. So
is it 30? I thought it jumped up to 50.
30's still a little pricey. Well, no, it got reprinted in one of the secret layers. So
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Let me do a quick check on it.
So I could have sworn it jumped up drastically again.
$30.03.
I'll take it.
It's in my deck.
If it makes a cut, it makes a
cut. I love it.
Yeah, it's an amazing card. So I didn't put it in my build because I thought it was a little more on the pricey side, but yeah, $30 is right around, like, I would say the max that we'd probably want to spend on any single card.
And then you had mentioned Gadwick earlier when we were talking before we started. I think that would be a fun one for card draw.
I did. I think that Gadwick is especially a little spicier in this deck because he's that X blue. When it enters the battlefield, draw X cards. So again, it's like, it's another inclusion of like Stroke of Genius, whatever. But also, whenever you cast a blue spell, you can tap target non-land permanent opponent controls, right? So we're playing this Voltron strategy. Well, now I can just tap down blockers that people forget about my Gadwick with. Great. That's awesome. So I get a little bit of extra value if that sticks around a little while. So that's why I included it with mine. I thought it was...
But let's get back to real fast about the card draw here for this deck. Here's another card that I really enjoy. or enjoyed from the new set Kaldheim is Cosima, God of the Voyage. It's not immediate. You might tell me, it's not relevant enough right away, but it can come in clutch late game. So at the beginning of the upkeep, I may exile it, and then if I do, it gains whenever a land comes into play. I may put a Voyage counter on it, and whenever I decide to return it, it comes in with X 1/1 counters equal to the Voyage counters, and draw X cards.
Yeah, I like this card. So I didn't have it in mind originally, but when you talked about it, I went and added it, and it played very well today. I like a card that you play it and forget it, right? You set it and forget it, right? So you play it on, turn 3 or maybe even turn 2, and then every time you're hitting a land drop, right? And in blue, I especially in the way that I built my deck, is I really want to try to hit every single land drop, if not more, right? This just incrementally just gains in a place that nobody can mess with, right? They're not gonna be able to touch this thing, right?
Yeah, I'm totally willing to test this card. This seems like a really good value over the course of a game. So sure.
If I'm not mistaken, when we played earlier today, that was your winner. That
Yes,
just put
it
you over
was.
the edge.
It did.
Because of Cosima. So
Yep.
it's
Drew me.
definitely a cool card.
Yeah, I like it.
How about Windfall? How do y'all feel about Windfall?
I'm afraid we're of giving our opponents card advantage with that because
Yeah, I shy
from
away against those.
Yeah.
That's fair. I can leave it out then.
I think along with you, I think I played Nezahal. I think that's an awesome card.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Definitely want that guy.
I don't know why I didn't put it in my card or my deck right away. Nezahal's amazing.
Yeah, just to confirm, do we have Pull from Tomorrow in there, right?
Yes.
Do we have Stroke of Genius? Do we want that?
Yep.
Oh, we got that already?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other suggestions for card draw then. It's pretty much it from my perspective.
All right, well then why don't we jump into ramp? Let's jump into the ramp package for this deck, boys.
So we got a little bit of it with the Sword of the Animus, but yeah, go ahead.
Yep. The one that sticks out immediately for me is Thought Vessel.
Yep. Boom.
We're drawing a lot of cards. We don't want to lose our cards.
Yeah, you want the no max hand size on several cards in the deck, so
yep.
Great include.
Obviously Soul Ring is going to make its appearance in here. I loved Cage Sun. I love Cage Sun.
Yeah, I have Cage Sun in my build. Normally I actually don't include it in a lot of decks just because it is a very high CMC artifact. So, those tend to get blown up later in the game pretty easily. But there's a lot of potential for it in this deck because in my build I play High Tide and Turnabout. So if I get a Cage Sun in play, and then I'm able to keep it for a turn and then untap and get triple my mana base instead of double my mana. Ooh, that's nice.
So anyways, I think another good one would be Arcane Signet in the deck. Just a great little addition to CMC. Now, I know we had the discussion last time about this, and I'm going to bring it up again because I'm a huge fan, but I love me some Gilded Lotus. I just do.
And insert Jared.
Yeah,
I'm actually more accepting of Gilded Lotus in this deck than other decks.
Okay.
Just because we have if we play like Turnabout or ways to untap artifacts, it's actually really good. Also, we can tutor Gilded Lotus out if we want it because we have tutors for it. So the reason that I didn't like it in the Keskit Tevish build we did was because we don't really have a great way of getting it out, and Mono Black it just generates mana better than Gilded Lotus, in my opinion. But I could see an argument for including Gilded Lotus in Mono Blue because there are more ways to potentially abuse it or tutor it if we want it. So I'm open to the idea of Gilded Lotus in this deck.
All right. Hey, you know what? I'm going to win your heart over one step at a time, my friend.
This, okay.
What about Star Compass? Are y'all a fan of Star Compass?
Yes, I am. I like that one.
Yeah. I like that.
So I got one that I know Jared's gonna dislike off the bat, but I'm just gonna say it anyway, just because it's funny. Dreamscape Artist, right?
Actually, I do not dislike this card right off the
Really?
bat. I actually
Okay.
think this card is a little underrated. It is slow. It's definitely fun though, and it's blue ramp, so
Yeah, it
it's
is.
just a little fragile is all. So, you know, as long as
Throw
you're
one
not
in there. I
playing
like it.
against as long as you're not playing against people that are like lightning bolting it on
Right.
turn 2 or 3. It's okay to
We
get
don't
one.
need to get into specifics on that one.
And
Yeah,
did
we've
y'all?
all had games though where we play like our rock or whatever in turn 2 and somebody blows it up, right? Because it's funny or whatever. So
Yep,
you gotta
Did
consider
you?
all situations in Commander.
It's
So
true.
the
absolutely.
Did,
Burnished
the
heart.
least fragile pieces are the better ones.
did you play Burnished
Yes,
Heart in yours, Jared?
Yeah, I like Burnished Heart.
I
Okay.
like me some burnished heart
Especially
as well.
especially in blue with the artifact thing, and it's a good budget ramp card.
And then Commander's Quarter's favorite card, now expensive. I like Wayfarer's Bauble. It's a great card. I like that one.
I do too. Yeah.
Throw that in there.
All right, if we're talking
Oh,
about rocks, let me just add a couple real quick. So if we're playing Star Compass, we should definitely be playing Sky Diamond.
If I have that.
Yep.
And I don't know if Cold Steel Heart or Mind Stone were added. Those are pretty solid too. And I mean, if we're talking about Gilded Lotus, all right, so here's some that I play in my deck. So Thran Dynamo and Worn Power Stone.
oh yeah.
So I
Grand
mean,
Dynamo's for
if we're
me.
going the
I love
super
Grand.
artifact ramp, we should definitely be putting those in.
How about I'm gonna put another one out that you vetoed last time. Nyx Lotus.
Yeah, still not the biggest fan of that card.
Well, so in my version of the deck, I actually threw the land in, right? Now,
Nykthos?
Nykthos?
yeah.
No, Nykthos is fine because it's a land. But the problem with the artifact is that, it's a 4-mana artifact
You
that
can
comes in
tutor
play
it.
tapped. That is
can
true.
tutor
I
it.
did make the argument for
So this is the
tutors.
thing.
So
You can't go
I'm
back.
not immediately discounting it. I just said I'm not the biggest fan of it in this particular deck.
All right. We got to give something to Freddy.
Well,
So
Freddy's definitely got his imprint on this deck for sure. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's got some stuff in here that I didn't consider.
I
So
figured I would throw a Nyx Lotus in there just because I like the card personally. I think it's a fun one. It's not overly busted like some other rocks.
any
I'm
other
looking at
ramp
your
that
Mana
we're
Crypt.
missing, Jared?
let's see. Everflowing Chalice. I like that one.
Yes. Good call. I did not think about this one for this deck, and I think it's a great add.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a lot of mana to sink in something, it could be Everflowing Chalice. I mean, I say that, I almost never do that. It's almost always just a 2-mana tap to add 1 when I play it. But, just having the option on it to keep putting more and more mana into it, right? It's an option.
So I guess we can put the end to ramp, and we'll just move on to.
Yeah, we'll just move on, and I think we got the ramp.
Yeah, I just want to confirm if we're playing High Tide and Turnabout. Do you guys feel that this is a deck that we could play those in?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I just want to make sure we got those. But otherwise, I have no more things for the ramp category.
Nope. I think
So
we covered
our last
basically
one is
everything.
pretty much interaction. We could probably go over some of the protection and evasion maybe that we used. Kind of incorporate some of those.
Yeah, so good point about Turnabout, actually. Quick aside. You could use it to just tap down your opponent's stuff if you don't need it to untap your things. So it's a way to clear the board up for Alrund to get in.
It's like a sleep almost.
Yeah, yeah. So our main plan with Turnabout is to use it to ramp if we have something like a Caged Sun, but we could also use it to clear the way for Alrund to get in there. So
I like it. I like it.
Yep.
Okay, so Freddie, let's talk about some protection or some interaction. What kind of stuff did you throw in your set?
So I'm probably gonna get told that this is a Freddy card, but I love me some spell swindle on the budget.
Mhm.
It's like pseudo. I mean, yes, you might have to turn off, but we're in blue. We like taking turns off. Um, but spell swindle is a poor man's mana drain, and I like it. I'm
Oh,
a
it's
geek
actually better than Mana Drain because it adds mana of any color and you can use it whenever
Mhm.
you want. So,
Yeah, it's just the prohibitive 5 CMC sometimes, but I
yes,
think that we
5
did it well.
5 CMC is a lot for a counterspell, but the upside on a card like Spell Swindle is very high if you can get it to work. But
Yes.
that is the key, is getting it to work. So, but it's a fun card.
Then I put the new Saw It Coming in the deck. Synergizes really well with Alrund.
Yeah, I like that.
Curse of the Swine, or board wipe of pseudo board wipe, or remove the biggest threats on the board. I really like that. And I put Raven Form in the deck as well. I know it gives somebody a 1/1, but if we need to get something off spot removal wise, I really like it, and it synergizes again with Alrund pretty well.
Yeah, it's got the Foretell. Yeah, so I'm willing to try out the Foretell cards. I mean, see how good they are.
So some of the protection stuff that I had is a good one that kind of does, again, I kind of talked about it earlier in the episode, was kind of having dual purpose cards. So I did Muddle the Mixture because you can also transmute if you wanted to find a piece of equipment or some artifacts, some
I
ramp,
love
whatever
it.
the case may be. And then if not, you can counter that spell, right? So I thought that was
I'm a
a really
fan.
solid pick.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I didn't include that one in my build, but you make a couple good points about it. The only reason I would advise against it if we were to take it out is because it costs $6. So it is rather expensive for a common.
That's probably why I
But
only
I
have
mean,
one real copy.
yeah, I mean it actually never got reprinted. Its only printing is in Ravnica City of Guilds. That's why it's $6. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy to think about, right?
But you know what's even more expensive than that? Swan Song. It's $12.
Oh yeah. Well,
If we want to
that's a
talk
really
about
good counter spell. I mean, if we
Swan
got budget, we
Song,
can play that. But I mean, yeah, Swan Song is really amazing.
well, I'm also going back on the removal in blue. I love me some Reality Shift.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yep,
at a walk.
great.
It's at $10 now. Unbelievable! I cannot believe that card's at $10.
So I threw this card in mine, Lassitup Plating, almost like a mono blue heroic intervention for
Yeah,
you
that's a
and
nice one.
permanents.
Hmm.
And I thought this one was a really good one. Kind of
That's fun.
provides that. Yeah, it's a little color pie break there for you.
Yeah.
um,
Misdirection. So that's the exile the blue card rather than pay the cost, but you change the target of target spell with a single target. So I like that, especially in this particular deck, because we are going to be drawing a lot of cards, so we'll just have all kinds of extra blue cards just pitch to it. So I think that could be a nice one.
And then a good old-fashioned counterspell just for the fact that we're playing it the OG.
Yeah, we should see if we have room for it. Yep.
I was gonna say one that isn't like a counterspell, but sort of is the new one, Mystic Reflection, right? This one's 2, and basically allows you to choose a non-legendary creature. So if somebody's trying to play something fancy, you can turn it into a different type of creature, and it also
I feel like
has
no,
foretell.
you could take this 1/1 plant token on the board
Right,
that somebody
exactly.
has. I like it. Yeah,
It's
I'm a
kinda
fan
I
of
like
that
it
one.
too.
It's not super expensive.
Yeah.
And
That's a
then
card that's definitely seeing a lot of play in CEDH as well. For anybody who's interested in that, but great little card.
I think that's pretty much it. Did y'all have anything else?
I just had a couple of cards that I wanted to throw in. These are going to be part of the draw and or protection package. I love Teferi, Master of Time. I'm a big fan of draw discard. So yes, I get it. We're not going to get to keep the extra card that we're drawing, but we're doing it on every turn, and we're able to phase things out. Be pretty relevant.
So I thought of that exact same thing, but then the Neil side of me said that's not part of a Neil deck, so I took it out. But I definitely did want to put it in for sure. It's very strong.
Yeah,
I love me some Imprisoned in the Moon, baby.
we should include that. That's a good one. Also, I don't know if we have enough board wipes in the deck. So
Rift.
um,
Just say it.
yeah, we could put Cyclonic Rift in. I mean, you don't have to if you don't like the card. It's also a little pricier, around $20. Some more budget option though are
Reverse Rebuke.
yeah, Reverse Rebuke targets one player, so yeah, you could definitely just say, hey, you die if I cast and resolve this against you. But I was thinking more along the lines of something like Engulf the Shore. So this is an
Ooh.
so this is an instant 3 and a blue. Return to their owner's hand all creatures with toughness less than or equal to the number of islands you control. So this gets around our commander, right? So we could bounce everything but our commander basically with this card. So it's both a board wipe and it's a clear the way for Alrund. If we have him in play, we can attack with him. And also from the new Kaldheim commander deck, you have Spectral Deluge, which is the same thing. Pretty much it's return each creature your opponents control, though, with toughness X or less to its owner's hand, where X is the number of islands you control. So Spectral Deluge is your opponent's, Engulf the Shore is everybody's, but both of them are bouncing based on the number of islands, which Alrund is pretty much always going to be higher than that. So I think that those are really good to put in the deck because
I like it.
they're going to help clear the way for Alrund in addition to being board wipes for us. I have Thassa God of the Sea in my build just because it's like an indestructible way of giving your creatures unblockable. So it's a little more sticky than a card like, Aqueous Form, where if they remove the commander, that's gone, but Thassa always sticks around. And you get the scry with it too, which is kind of cool.
Yep, I had it in my
Yeah.
version as well.
Also should definitely be in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And we didn't put Whisper Soul Cloak in here, did we?
No,
That one
so that
under the
one I
budget for
thought
some
that
reason.
one I spent a little time on just myself as I was looking through cards and trying to put this deck together. And it's the same thing that I have against Lightning Greaves. So the Shroud thing that's a big deal, right? If you get into a situation where you're wanting, whether it's Prowler's Helm or some other equipment on it, and you got Lightning Greaves, and we're not running a ton of creatures, so it's not like you can easily just adjust it to a different creature. You could probably get into a situation where you're trying to protect either Alrund or Hakka, but you can't move the Greaves to anything else, and you're stuck not being able to put other equipment on. I don't have it in mind. I know the haste is probably important, but what I did instead was Crashing Drawbridge, right? I wanted to try that card out just for my build, just to see if there was, there's not very many ways to give creatures haste, but it was an artifact creature that could potentially maybe do that without having any adverse effects.
Interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Neil's line of thinking here. The Whisper Soul Cloak, again, it was really good back in the day, as I like to say. But these days, there's better ways to give unblockable, especially since we're in blue. And the Shroud is such a huge downside, especially in a Voltron deck. Like, Shroud is nice, but yeah, my gosh, when you can't equip your own equipment to your commander, it feels really bad. So,
Yeah.
Lightning Greaves is the exception just because it has that 0 equip cost. So you just throw everything on it, then throw Greaves on last, and the haste is really relevant, like you said. But yeah, Shroud is just it's a huge downside if we do it at the wrong time. So yeah, I also like the idea of Crashing Drawbridge. It's like really cheap. It's like a quarter. So just having just that backup to Lightning Greaves / hexproof Swiftfoot Boots. Sorry, Lightning Greaves Swiftfoot Boots is nice.
Right. Is there anything else anybody would like to add before we start getting into the cuts?
Did we want to kind of go over some of our non-basic lands that we thought were important?
Yeah, well, good point. Yeah, we could definitely go into that.
So
Yeah,
obviously,
so I could
Buried Ruin.
go ahead.
You can go.
Buried Ruin.
Oh, Buried Ruin. Yep, that's true. Yeah, so I've got on my list Academy Ruins, if we're talking about ruins still. Academy Ruins is awesome in this deck. Plays so many artifacts, and just having a way to get it back is sweet. Mirrored Landscape. Definitely want that one in here.
One of my favorites.
Yeah,
Put
definitely
Nykthos
a
already
favorite.
in?
Yeah, Nykthos should be in if it's not. And then Mystic Sanctuary should probably go in here. That's a pretty nice one. Just get back a counter spell or whatever, right? Get back Curse the Swine, all kinds of juicy good stuff. I think Scavenger Grounds should probably go in here just because just having a way to exile the graves in case we need it is nice.
I put Halimar Depths in the deck.
So really funny, Halimar Depths, normally I think that card is awful,
Absolutely
but actually
terrible.
in this deck, it's really good if you've got Alrund. That's true. I'm willing to see how good it is.
So
I put
reached.
Reliquary Tower.
Yep, Reliquary Tower is good.
Yep, Reliquary Tower.
I went with a really weird one just because I was actually at one point when I was searching for stuff. When I first started playing Magic years and years ago, I was really a big fan of Exalted. So I put Cathedral of War just because most times you're going to be attacking with one creature, and it kind of provides that extra +1/+1. It doesn't do a lot, but it was kind of just that because I was trying to find actually creatures that were good in blue that have Exalted. And there's really not that many, unfortunately, that go with it. It would have been cool to do a Voltron with a little bit of Exalted sub-theme in it. I was trying to go down that route, but it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Has got that whole thing on lockdown, my friend. You can't mess with the Bant Exalt.
Oh, I know.
So yeah, put that in. I like that. War Room, put that in. I like it. Mono color again. Draw cards. We like drawing cards.
Yeah, my only thing against War Room would be that we're in blue, so we're already drawing tons of cards, and sometimes you just need the island, right? I mean,
that's fair.
We'll keep it in. I mean, I'm willing to try it out, but since we're playing High Tide, I would almost prefer the island.
I've got one that y'all will probably tell me it's not that good, but hear me out on the decision for this one. I put Skyline Cascade in mine.
Oh, I see Rogue's Passage. Yeah, you definitely want that
Rogue's
in here.
Passage, absolutely.
All right, let's see what this thing does. Skyline Cascade.
When it ETBs, target creature and opponent control doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step.
Yeah, the ETB tapped though.
I know. The tap thing sucks. That's two cards that come in, or 3 lands so far that would come in tapped.
I don't hate tap lands. I know everybody else hates tap lands. I'm fine with it. Yeah, I mean, the one time that you need it, yeah, it sucks. But most of the time, you're going to catch these cards when you're really not doing anything. No big deal.
I mean, you can really get somebody with this card. I'm not going to lie. Like,
you could.
I've never heard of this card before, and I'm sure most people haven't. So, like, randomly later in the game, the one guy thinks he's going to do something, and then you're just like, oh, exactly. I play this land. They're like, what?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it could save you. I like it, Freddie.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're not playing like over 5 tap lands, sure. Let's try it out.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys play Inventor's Fair in Yule's version?
No, but it could be interesting because of the artifact tutor. Yes. I think you need 3 artifacts to do it, right? So
I mean,
there's the risk you won't be. Yeah, we are running quite a bit of artifacts.
Yeah,
so
I mean, yes, there is a risk we won't hit it, but I think that the amount of artifacts that we are running in the build should justify taking that risk.
Okay. Yeah, what do you guys think of Terrain Generator?
So originally I had that one in my deck, and I'm a fan of running that in my mono white decks, but I guess it depends. Sometimes that's a tough one because like in white, I really like it just because I'm usually playing like land tax. I'm able to have more lands in play or more lands in my hand than I probably would in this version of the deck. I ended up not using it, but I do think it's a really good card for sure. I'd be interested to probably try it out and see if there are times where I have enough where I'm actually using this, because you could also say, well, you could run, what is it? What's the creature that does the same thing? The
Walking Atlas, I think.
Walking Atlas, yeah.
But
'cause
Walking Atlas is better. Walking Atlas is better because you can put any land from your hand to play. Terrain
True.
Generator is only basics, so
Yeah.
that is something you have to think about. Yep. So if we're not playing as many basics as I thought, definitely cut Terrain Generator. But in mono blue, is putting lands from your hand into play, which we're going to have a lot of cards in our hand. So sure.
Speaking of Terrain Generator, because at the same time I was thinking, okay, what are ways? And again, this is it. It's kind of bad too. I was also thinking at one point, since we're talking about putting lands, was Gear Priori, where it allows you to play two, but it's really kind of gives everybody that chance. I wish there was only what is that, asymmetrical?
Yeah, but if it was asymmetrical, we would be playing in green, right?
Well, no, I know.
Yeah.
I was going to try that out in my deck just because it is, especially with blue, having the ability to put more than one into play is probably something pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's not one I thought about. Interesting.
And then if you ever, I guess, did get to a point where you had no cards in hand, you do get to draw 3.
But what's the price point real fast on Gauntlet of Power?
Very expensive.
Super up there?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's an expensive one, yeah.
I mean, you could play extra planar. You could play extra planar lens.
That's like 50.
Oh, that's also expensive too. Yeah, extra planar is really expensive.
They're both like prohibitive for the budget build, but those are definitely or maybe board for upgrades that we could.
Yeah, Gauntlet of Power is more of an upgrade card, I would say, because it's not necessary because we have Cage Sun that we're putting in there. Because Gauntlet is like 23, so it's not too pricey. But extra planar is definitely one of the upgrades because that's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
That's
so
50.
We are
extra planar is 50.
Yeah, they're both prohibitive, fortunately.
All right, we're at 124 cards.
24. So we got to make some cuts. I like the way where this is going. I'm also a fan of the curve. Or the average CMC is at 3. I could live with that. I'm liking the curve already.
Yep. So we definitely have obviously most of our 2 in them. Not very many 7s.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that it naturally curved on us. So that's a good start. Hey everybody, so we've taken the deck from deck stats and imported it into box field. It's a little bit easier to view, sort, and move the cards around. So now we're going to start cutting cards from the deck because we've kind of picked out everything we liked, and we've got it sorted by converted mana cost, and we're just going to go in and sort of go through card by card and just do a quick yes or no depending on what it is. So let's start with the creatures. So we got Crashing Drawbridge. I don't know. I feel like Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots are enough versions of haste. Like this is a budget card, so like if you don't have the budget for Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot, you could include this, but I think this is a little bit weaker than those.
Considering, yeah, I think so. Dreamscape Artist, how do we feel about that card? I like it. I think it's a great way to kind of pseudo ramp in blue, but we are sacking islands to do so. But I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yeah, it sounds like you feel strongly about it, and I think Neil's a fan, so we'll try and keep it in if we can.
Okay.
I think we wanted to get rid of Mirror Retriever just because we don't have a good way of sacking it ourselves, so it's hard to get it to the graveyard. So
right.
it would be a nice to have, but I guess we don't have room. Burnished Heart, I think it's a pretty solid ramp. We can keep that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Chasm Skulker?
I don't
think
know.
it'll put in some work in the deck personally, but again, that's my take on it. I don't know if you guys think otherwise. We can definitely put this in the maybe board. I do
Yeah,
like it.
I'm not sold on it, so I'll have to defer to Neil.
I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Okay.
All right, we'll keep
We'll
it in
see
then
where
for
we're
now.
at in the second round. Kazuma, I like Kazuma a lot. I'm a fan. I saw what it did for your deck. I think it fits
Yep.
really well. I like to keep
Kasuma.
that one.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, let's keep it in then. Yep.
Chadwick, we can all agree, fits in the theme of the deck very well. We can just keep going. Hero, very glass better. I know you guys were not a big fan of this card.
I never.
I mean, I
didn't see it.
like it, but we just don't have a consistent way of getting it out. Like,
Yeah.
we're not playing creature tutors. We're playing artifact tutors. So we would just have to luck into
For a
this.
lie. Yeah, lucking into it, but we're also in a very massive card draw heavy deck, so I don't know.
Also, we have to consider budget at this point, right? This is $5, so could we include
Yeah,
something cheaper that does the
can-
effect more efficiently? Maybe.
We could put this in the maybe board for right now.
Yeah, we could always bring it back in, right? I mean, it's better to cut more than less because
Loyal Drake, yeah, we all said that.
Neil's just moving it already.
He's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
I mean
can
that's
make that."
just that was a nice idea, but there's others. Yeah,
How do you feel about Nadir Kraken?
I have the same opinion of this as I do of Chasm Skulker. So if you're including Chasm Skulker, include it. Otherwise, cut both of them.
I like it as a secondary option to do more than just have our commander. That's my opinion on that. Neil?
Yeah, I mean, so I originally went with the Chasm and the Deer, but then I shied away from it. But what I'm seeing here is we'll end up going down this list because I know there's other ones that people aren't so fond of. We're gonna have 3 or 4 creatures.
I'm gonna tell you right now, remove Chasm Skulker and Nadir, and why don't we put in your Shu Yun and things that we didn't add? Because we were brilliant.
Well, nobody was a fan of those. That's only me.
I like them. I'm a fan. I prefer to have those over Chasm Skulker and Nadir.
Sun Wu is expensive. He is $18, but that's up to whoever wants to. If you want to play that, Lu.
It's expensive both price-wise and mana-wise.
It is,
but definitely a fun card. If it's in your budget.
Yeah, Lu kind of does a little more, a little horsemanship, and gives whenever it deals damage, you draw a card. So it kind of goes with that theme.
We can take on Nadir Kraken and Chasm Skulker. Yep.
Okay.
I felt the pain of that with you, Freddie.
Classic God of the Sea, love it. And
love it. All right.
Auto include, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I put it in mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll keep that one on. Trinket Mage. Do we have enough targets for Trinket?
I don't know if we do. We didn't include the Seat of the Synod. We don't have Sensei's Top. Yeah, I don't know if we have enough targets for this. Let's take a look at the artifacts. We have Commander's Plate, Shadow Spear, Soul Ring.
And you didn't like Shadow Spear.
I wasn't the biggest fan of Shadow Spear. I mean, Commander's Plate's kind of growing on me, but yeah. We got a couple of targets with it.
Let's cut it. I don't think it's enough to justify it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, we've got to cut a lot of cards, so we definitely need to make the cuts. Sakashima, we all said that we didn't like it, so let's remove it. Toothy.
I'm willing to try Toothy. Yeah,
I'm a fan of Toothy. Toothy would put some more. Yeah, let's cut our commander.
He's out.
Yeah, exactly.
Psychosis Crawler, we could all agree that we'll put in some massive work in the deck if we are able to get into him.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
So definitely keep in. Consecrated Sphinx, I think, is a cut just for budget purposes here. We cannot put this.
Yeah, we all love it, but yeah, it's very expensive.
Definitely an auto include in the upgrade package.
Yes.
In this deck, the way we've got it built and not the way I have mine built, Elegeth isn't getting enough scry action, so it's not going to do the way
Yeah,
it needs to.
agreeing. Put it to the considering. Stuquan and Nezahal, yeah, we can't cut those, especially Nezahal. It's like our backup commander.
Yep. I like that. Curse of the
Curse of the-
Swine.
Nope, not cutting that.
Nope, that's staying.
So what do you guys think of the Artifact Tutor package? Do you think that that is worth keeping in? Like, I guess Fabricate's fine, but what about Reshape? And did we put Whirl of Invention in? Do you
No.
think those are worth playing? There it is. Yeah, it's only $1.79 too.
It's instant
I mean,
speed
that's
as
an
well.
instant, but yeah. Yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think it's worth including these? Because we should probably include all of them if we're going to include them, right?
Yeah,
I would think so.
we're definitely a
Okay.
Voltron package, so I would say we keep them
There's
in.
no
but
other way
that's-
that we can find
Yeah.
those, so you have to. I mean, if you're just
Yeah.
relying
All right,
on
sounds
your luck.
sounds good.
yeah.
So, Raven form, definitely. I like it. I want to keep it to play with the
I
commander.
love Ravenform.
Yeah.
It's great.
Let's try it. Yeah, let's keep it in there.
We like
I'm a
flow.
big fan of flow of ideas. You know, I don't know how big of a fan you guys are, but I like the idea of drawing 6 or more for
Yep,
like
that
only
sounds
6 mana.
amazing. We can definitely keep that in.
I mean, you
Spectral
also
Deluge,
got to think, depending, I mean, that's +6, +6 to your commander, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, buff Alrund.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
I like Spectral
Spectral
Deluge.
Deluge, I like it.
Yeah,
It's
let's
got
try
the
and keep it in.
Foretell also in there, so it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would prefer that over the other cards that have that ability. If we have to cut, I'd prefer to keep Spectral in. Synergize is better. Brainstorm, absolutely must keep.
Yep.
High Tide, keep. Swan Song, that's
Cut it
one
for
that
only
I'm
budget
very
reasons.
happy to cut. Yeah.
I'm not happy to cut it, but
Well,
you
I'm
know,
happy to cut it for the price tag.
yeah, for the price tag. Yeah.
Arcane Denial, I'm happy with. Yep. Counterspell, yes. Azotep Plating, yes. Muddle the Mixture, I like it. I'm a fan of the transmutability.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun spicy one.
I like this one.
But does it do enough?
It could come in clutch, especially if you're in a pod. This is also, again, this is all about based on the meta that you have at the table, right? If you have a commander that wins solely on that the commander is the win con, being able to screw them out of that or screw them out of a key piece out of their combo. I like that. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, this card could be way better than I think it is because if I'm reading this correctly, basically you turn their commander into some like random token.
Yeah.
Is that what you... Yeah,
Absolutely.
so that's pretty good. I mean, I'm willing to try this out for that purpose alone.
And it's got Foretell, and it's amazing. I love the Foretell.
Yeah, the
ability.
Foretell is
Again,
sweet. Yeah, I mean, all right. I'm pretty sold on this card.
Tomorrow, keep. Sure.
Yeah, I think...
Reality Shift, I like it. Blue Sun Zenith. That one's the one that I'm like, yes, we need to keep it, but man, it does have the recursion of coming back, but it's 3 blue and X versus 2. It's 1 extra.
Yeah, that's the one reason I didn't include it because of the triple blue.
We have War of not War of Invention. What am I saying?
We are playing a few cards with triple blue though, like Gadwick. So I mean, Future
Yeah.
Sight.
I mean, you're playing a mono
We are
deck,
playing
so
enough
that's
blue.
fine.
Yeah, I think it could be fine. We'll keep it in for now.
Okay.
We'll think about it later if we have to cut more. Hinder, I don't know.
Jared wasn't a fan
We're
of
blue.
this
We can
one.
play better.
Yeah, let's take that.
Yeah, I was not really a fan of that. Because we have Saw It Coming, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we'll just play this instead.
Saw It Coming is so much better.
Circa Genius, so keep it in for now. I have a feeling we'll wind up cutting 1 or 2 of these Draw X spell cards, though. We might be playing too many. We'll keep it in for now, though.
I'm gonna say if we're gonna cut one, Stroke of Genius for me is the one that's gonna get cut. My opinion.
Yeah, probably. We'll see.
Yeah. I love this
Build
card.
the multiverse. I mean, I like it, but we may wind up cutting it because we might want to rather play a draw X spell over it, depending. We'll keep it in for now, though.
Engulf
The
the
Shore,
Shores.
board wipe, probably want to keep that in there.
I like that, yes. Fact or
Factor
Fiction,
Fiction.
auto
Yep.
include, in my opinion. Turnabout. Misdirection.
Yeah, I think we want to keep Turnabout in. I guess I didn't realize it was 550, but, you know, I think that's a really nice card at this deck for
Yep.
a couple of reasons, being that you can get the extra mana off of it, or you could tap down your opponent's stuff. And then Misdirection is kind of cool because you're always going to have a lot of cards in your hands, so you could just, you know, use its effects pretty well just by exiling.
Yeah, we have a
cards.
deflecting SWAT for free.
Yeah, it's kind of like deflecting SWAT in this deck.
Spell Swindle.
Yeah, Spell Swindle might be getting cut. It's at the top of the curve here. You know, it's a cool card, but as Freddie said, 5 mana for a counter spell, that's a lot.
I was going to say, if I had to pick between Misdirection and Spell Swindle stays in for me. In my opinion. I love that card.
Maybe we'll bring it back in. Maybe we'll bring it back in at the end. We'll see.
Ever-flowing Chalice. Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep it in for now.
I love Commander Plate. I would like to keep it in if possible.
Okay.
If we had to really cut, Shadow Spear is fine, even though I like Shadow Spear over Venser's Journal. But again, that's me. Soul Ring is staying. We don't need to hover over it. Wayfarer's Bauble.
Bauble, Signet, Blackbird Forged.
Yep, that's staying.
Cold Steel, yep, Dowsing Dagger. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to go into Hakka, right? Because we have ways of getting them blockable, so, you know, at that point, whatever, we just get our Black Lotus land.
Yeah, that's good.
That's one of the reasons I'm willing to put it in, because we could put it on Hakka or Alrund.
Yep. We got Imperial Plate, that's must.
Yep.
Folio Fancies. Here's one that Neil was not a fan of, and
Yeah, I like this card. I like that it gives us a backup plan, but you know, I got Neil's point that it's a 2 mana spellbook the vast majority of the time. So it's up to you guys.
I had to pick one to cut. I think that's one of the ones that I would cut for sure. I mean, I get the extra no maximum hand size, but I don't know. We've got to make 14 more cuts, so I love Hero's Blade.
Yeah,
I love the sequencing with it. I think it's wonderful.
I would argue for cutting this just because I feel like it doesn't do enough. All it does is give +3/+2. That's like, it's basically a giant growth, you know, whoop-de-doo. That's my thinking.
All right. Lightning Greaves are staying. Mindstone, good to go. Rack, I feel
where you need to go deep, you can. Like, it gives you that reach when you need it.
Yeah. Sky Diamond. Yes.
Yep, keep it in. Yep. Star Compass, keep it in.
Yes.
Boots, yep.
Boots, yep.
Sword, yeah, we'll try and keep it in if we can.
Sword of the Animist is absolutely must. I love that.
Well, Sword is also $12, so I mean, in this particular deck, maybe we don't want it. We'll see.
How do y'all feel about my one-sided board wipe?
I
think it's magical Christmas land, to be honest with you. I don't see that happening ever, almost.
Really? So if we don't have, think about it this way. We don't have a way to make Alrund unblockable. So we have this out.
But why wouldn't we have a way of making Alrund unblockable? We're playing mono blue.
It can happen where we just don't have it.
Okay.
This forces people to block and board wipe their entire board. And they have to block, because if they don't, they're dead. I think it brings a lot to the table, especially with Alrund being as big as he will be. That's the way I see it. I mean, it's not like, oh, he's going to deal 4 damage to everything. No, he's going to deal 15 damage to everything.
I've also had
a lot of good success with this card in the past. It also catches people off guard because they never really see it.
Yeah,
I've
I've
liked
never heard of this card. Yeah, I mean,
I,
but like you said, we have to cut multiple cards still. So I mean, this doesn't really advance our game plan of killing people, I would say. So because it doesn't directly advance the game plan, that would be my argument for moving it. But if you feel very strongly about it, we can try and keep it in. I mean, it is an interesting card.
I love it. But we'll keep going and see.
Okay.
What is Sinew and Steel? This one I think can potentially could get cut for the price tag,
Yeah,
and we're
it
all kind
just
of
for
like,
the price
yeah.
tag, it doesn't really do enough. I agree. Even War and Peace, right? I mean, it's just like Venser's Journal #2. We only need one of them. Hammer, Neil's a big fan of this one. We'll keep it in, right?
Yep, I love Hammer.
Nyx Lotus. You guys know how I feel about
Just cut
this.
it. Just cut it. It doesn't have a place in here. We need to cut a bunch of cards.
Let's see. Thran. I like it.
Yeah, I like Thran.
Gilded Lotus. Wow. What do you guys think now about it? Is it worth it?
Yeah. Huh? I mean, if you're playing Thread, I
How
don't
many
know, you
more
might as well play
cards
Gilded
do we have to
Lotus.
cut?
10.
That's a lot of cards we got to cut. I'm just saying, and this is like the top of the artifact curve.
Yeah, because we're not cutting Venser's Journal and we're not cutting Cage Sun.
No, those are pretty solid.
Omnius Seas, you don't like it. I like it.
I mean, this is just a win more card to me. If you guys really like it, we'll try and keep it in. But like you said, we still have multiple cuts we have to make. So
Well, I mean, I see
think it's
two that
definitely
we're
cuttable.
already getting rid of. So
Which are?
Coastal Piracy and Teferi's Aegis Insight.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I like the Fairies Angels Insight personally. I say we keep the Fairies Angels Insight, but Coastal Piracy I could definitely see cutting.
yeah, let's just cut Coastal Piracy.
Coastal
Not
Piracy.
the biggest fan. Not a fan of it in this deck. I like it. I like the effect, just not in this kind of a deck. Yeah, Monastery Siege. I feel like we're drawing cards in other ways. We don't really need it. We got Rhystic Study, Mystic
But I
Remora.
like the second ability on it too.
The
This is
protection.
the protection that Neil was looking for out of his Planeswalker. You get it out of this.
That's true. But we are playing Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, and multiple ways to tutor them out. So do we necessarily need protection for the rest of the board?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, so we could probably move it then. Yeah, you guys know my thoughts on this, so I'll let you guys talk about this for a minute.
I'm good either way.
This is a consecrated Sphinx, basically, isn't it?
All right, let's come back to Teferi's, because Future Sight we want to keep in here. That's really good in this build.
Yes.
Do we really want to play 40 lands? That feels like a lot.
No,
Because we're not playing MDFCs, right? Maybe we should play the Seagate Restoration and like something else. If that way we can have 40.
We definitely should play that.
I think 37's a good amount though.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see how many cards we got to get rid of now. We got three left to get rid of.
3.
Okay, let's see if we're playing too much ramp or card draw. Let's see exactly how many pieces of each of these things we're playing. Let's do a visual view this time. Keep everything else the same.
Did you want to keep
Let's see.
Teferi?
That could be one that we cut. Yeah, because Planeswalkers are kind of they're not as good in Commander. So that would
He's
just
really
leave
good
us.
in Commander. I don't.
But he, yeah, I mean, Planeswalkers aren't in general, but because you can activate it on every turn, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Filter out, find the things you need, and also fade things out on your turn if need be to swing into somebody and kill them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, yeah, that is a fair point. But let's see how much ramp and card draw we're playing, because I want to see if we're playing too much, too little. No, actually, we have just about enough ramp in there. I think 18's pretty good.
Okay, card draw then.
That's definitely enough. Yeah, let's check out the card draw, see if we're playing too much of that. Actually, how many counter spells are we playing? 1, 2, 3, 4? I guess that's fine. 5, if you include misdirection, it's sort of a counter spell.
And even that mystical, the new, yeah, not really a counter, but it's kind of a pseudo counter in a way, right?
Mystic Reflection? Kind of. Yeah.
Well, definitely controls the board.
I'm looking at the instance, and if I was to pick one, I would pick either Lazotep Plating or Muddle a Mixture to cut. Reason being just because they're kind of limited in application. I mean, I realize giving your whole board hexproof is nice, but it does not give the indestructible, which is also an important part of Heroic Intervention.
I'm good with cutting that.
Because at least with Muddle, you can counter somebody's like game-ending spell potentially with that
Yeah.
at least. So,
How are we feeling about the build?
wow, we did it. We've got 100. We're within budget, under $300. Yeah, I think that this is it, guys. I mean, this is the deck.
Oh, we did
Cool,
it,
very
boys.
cool.
Here's the deck of Alrund and Hakka.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be a pretty cool one. I think this is going to be a nice deck.
Yeah, so everybody make sure you keep an eye out, eyes peeled for the future gameplay video coming out for this deck. We will try to get it out in the next week. Other than that, thank you very much for tuning in to the Fabled Upkeep. Please don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one. Until then, have a good night.
See y'all later.
Thank you.